Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing great. I'm gonna share the screen. And I'm going to hide myself from this. Okay, and everyone, please make sure that you are inside either Visual Studio or any online compiler to make sure you can run whatever I'm going to ask you, please. We start from very slow. Let me tell you one thing. Today's content is properties. At the end of today, we are going to have a quiz about what we are learning right in the class. So one of the things that I want to focus on is why we have properties. Unfortunately, many people, they know what to write as a code, but they don't know why they are doing what they are doing. So they just jump to the keyboard, they start writing some predefined codes, but they don't know the philosophy behind it. We want to go through the process to understand why one day somebody woke up and said, from now on, let's have properties. That's the overall story. For a starter, please, everyone, write those lines of code. Please write the code and see how it works. Well, we're going to finish the code, please give me a signal. Done. Merci. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bravo. Bravo. Those who finish, please run the code and trace the code and see what you understand from it in a group of 2, not more. Please just share what you learned from the code. Thank you. A group of 3 and you 2. It's not a bad idea. Sorry, I can't even explain it to her. Okay, Santiago, everything is clear in the show? Okay, so, Sherry? Okay, Andy, look at this one. For friends that they use these computers, there is one at class. Sorry, what is this class at? Class app. Yeah, you can just type class Centennial. Yes, go down. Okay, guys, listen to me. Can I have your attention, everybody? So we had the time to elaborate on it. First thing first, whenever you want to, Rishi, okay. Whenever you want to discuss about the code, you start from the class. We have a class schedule. And then in that, we have only one thingy. What is that thingy? Is it method? Is it what? It's a field, lovely. So we have a field here, and that is public because we want to have access the field, right? And then we create one object based on that class. So we say the name of a class, it could be any name. Then we say new schedule, and then we say my schedule dot day is equal to 5. So imagine that we are talking about the days in a month. Okay, so the days in a month normally are between 1 to 31. Huh? So it can't be negative, it can't be 0, it can't be over 31, like 100. But we don't have any control here. So we show that, okay, that's a kind of interpolation way of showing. This is my schedule.day. And here we said in another way, you can just simply say console.writeLine. Does that make sense for everybody? But let's bring it to another level. This is approach A. This is approach A. Please pay attention to this. I just got rid of those parts. I said, okay, what if I want to set value inside the day? In that case, it's a good practice. It's a good practice to make our fields private. I repeat it, it's a good practice to make our fields private. So that is why you see here I said private int day. In that case, if you say here schedule dot day, it's not gonna show anything, right? Because it is private. Let me bring this one. Let me bring this one here for you. And because it is private, if I say here for any reason, if I say my schedule dot day, it doesn't show. So what can I do to set values here? I defined two methods and I said, okay, if you want to set any value, guys, can you look at here? To open a drawer and put something inside it, let's say set day. And in that case, you are gonna get something from the user, and then you put that value inside day. Is it okay? Awesome. And because it is public, I can access through the code. It is public. And when I want to see, when I want just to open the drawer and see, I have a mouse here. For that, I'm gonna say get day, and I say return that day. So simply whatever you have in a drawer, if you just say print it for me, bring it back to me, so you're gonna use get day. Is it clear? So I want you, muscle memory, please just type, I'm gonna bring you in your, I'm going to bring you the code to your group. So please download the main part from there and just type the rest. How about going there? Okay, there is one design now. They come back. Okay. It takes a few seconds. Okay. You can have inside there, you can have Telegram too. Oh, yeah, just you have to use your phone to recognize you, but I mean, because we are gonna copy lots of code from there. Okay. And I think 22, yeah, Visual Studio 22 is, yes, there we go. You can just work from home as well. I mean, for instance, if you don't have Visual Studio, you can just connect with your laptop or anything, right? All right, thank you. No worries. Okay, guys, did you copy the code? Did you finish running it? Lovely. Explain to your friend, because this is a super important step. Talk to your friend what is happening here. This time you didn't say .day because it is private. You said set day, means get the value, put it inside the drawer. And in the next line, you said, now I want to print it. Please talk to your friend for a minute or two. Huh. Done. Okay. Am I allowed to continue? Look at this one. Now, let's get to version 1, Andy. And by saying that means I want to check if the values are not in the range. So say something, right? Means like this. Look at here. I say, if the value is greater than 1, and less than 31, that's perfect. Set that value inside the day. Is it clear? We just added one more step to the code that we had, one more step. And then else, we are gonna say, we are gonna nag a little bit, right? That's, just forget about these two lines, these three actually here. But we are gonna just say, we cannot assign that number like you have entered, for instance, 100, and we are gonna put 1 inside the drawer. Does that make sense? Means I'm not happy with the number that you entered. It's not in the range that I can accept it. And you can apply this to many cases. Like what? Like the number of months. You don't want to be outside the range of 1 to 12. For the grades, not outside the range of 0 to 100. For the number of days in a week, not outside 1 to 7. You name it, there are tons of things. Okay, so again, I'm going to send this part, the program part, and in many cases you see, even in some exams, I'm gonna follow the same principles. You're gonna have the program, but I expect you to provide class for me, okay? So here you have the code. Try to complete the code, please. That's the code. Also, Festav, you can right click on it and say copy. That's another. So how's life now? Better?
Yeah, better.
Okay. Okay, done. So if anyone for any reason left behind, Control C, I just copy that part in the rest as well. So just please mainly focus on running the code and making sure that everything is fine. Okay, can I have your attention? Maybe you're at home, there is no access to Reza, to your team members, and you want to see how a code works, okay? Let's see what we can do. I hover the mouse. On the most left side, there is a column. I was surprised at the beginning when I was writing the code that why the color of this one is a little bit different, because that's the place that you can place your breakpoint. Lovely. So I click here and there will be a kind of red circle. I click on this run button and it goes all the way to this line. right? So after that, I know that I want to do what? I want to create one object. The name is my schedule. Guys, intentionally, I go very slow to make sure we get all the steps together. That's the intention. So look at this one. I get to the next line and I say set day 5. What is this? It's a value, right? Then I get into here and it says that set value. If you hover the mouse here, it passed value 5 to your method, huh? And then if you go to the next line, you see, is 5 greater than 1 and less than 31? Yes. And that is why it gets inside there and place 5 into day. Okay. Then I don't need to get to the else statement. I get back here. If you see now the schedule's day is 5 and simply it is going to write after I leave that line. Because we say get day, it gets inside this part and it returns 5 into here and simply it shows 5. But let's quickly go to 100 because 100 is not in that condition. It gets into the else statement. It shows that, hey, the value that you have entered is 100 and it's not acceptable. We just put 1 there and we get to that place, return, look at here, we get day from there, which is 1. We intentionally set it and then it shows is 1. Right now, we want to bring it to a better level. Means what? Means if it is negative number or 0, let's make it 1. If it is above 31, let's make it 31. So just do that yourself, and that's the bonus question. It's not a trick question. It's not a hard question. It's just a simple practice. For those who like Reza left behind, let me just provide you the code. Most of the time in real job, in industry, you are gonna see that there is a code, you just need to adjust it. There are rare cases that you start everything from a thin air. So imagine that now it is your job. You went to the office, they ask you to make it a little bit better. You have the code. Plus 31 right? I'll just put the value. I'm gonna just be with you enough time. Just a second. So That's extra condition. That's the logic, but one destination. Then I see the complete. No, that's good. Because I gave you the mark, right? Okay, thank you. So that's it. So. Troublemaker. Just a second, guys, that's true. I'm gonna just come and check as well. I want to check both people who finished and those people who couldn't to see where we are standing and why. It doesn't work or it works. Well, actually, because I have a logic in my mind and it takes time for me to understand what the logic is. So for instance, Andy's approach is similar. No, it's not a matter of it's what I have, so it doesn't take that. Thank you. No worries. Okay, please. That's good. We don't need to change the equal. We just need to say as long as it is less than one, then yeah. That's what I wanted. You got the logic. So you can explain Edgar? Yeah. So let's see. It's less. That's very nice. You're better. Good job, Santiago. Keep doing. Good job. Yeah, I gave you the mark. So how about If it is less than one. That's not what you made it. Okay, can I have your attention, please? It's a simple. Um. So let's go to the next part together. Okay. The next, Jordan, the next part is we make it exactly like what most of you followed this approach. Some of you made it nested, tiny, different, but in general, they all work. So here I said, if the day is greater than 31, so make the day 31. If the day is less than 1, make the day 1. Else means that it's in the acceptable range and just put that value inside day. And that's pretty much it. I checked it with 5, 100, and -3, just to make sure that everything works fine. I'm gonna quickly give that, especially for those friends that they left behind for any reason. Now you have the code, just check it, see if it works. Spend 1 minute on it. Okay. One off-topic question, maybe. Look at this one. Guys, what do you think about pain? Pain, ache, headache, pain. What do you think about it? Do you think that pain is our friend or it's our enemy? Exactly. Pain is our friend because it shows that something does not work properly and you have to take care of it. Huh? That's exactly what happens in programming as well. In programming, similar to the concept of pain, is what we have, and that's exception or error. You raise exception to show a flag, hey, something is not working properly. Go and think about it. Find a solution for it. So instead of saying out of nowhere that if it is less than 1, means negative number, just turn it to 1. Or if it is above 31, turn it to 31. Just throw an exception. That's more mature way, right? Because you want to say, maybe you entered 12, you have forgotten to press enter, and you wanted to enter 20 in the next field, and now it is 1220. So exception, do something about it. For that case, when you want to raise error yourself, we have something that we call it throw, new. In general, we can say exception, argument exception, but guys, the best is to direct your audience toward a correct problem. It's like you go to a doctor and you say, I feel pain. And the doctor said, okay, in which area? You know what I'm saying? If you just say that, I feel I'm in pain. Okay, tell me, headache, stomachache, or what? This one says argument, guys, we raise that flag. We say that argument out of range. exception. Means you have forgotten to put a correct range. Does that make sense? So please replace that condition with this one and again check how it works. Okay, whoever could finish, please just give me a signal. Awesome. And try it with different values or with the values that we checked a few seconds ago. You can simply run with the correct value like 5 and see it doesn't do anything. But if I just say -5, then it is going to throw exception here. You see that? Or if I say 500 instead of -5, for example, it's going to raise exception again. Right? It means that something is not working properly. But if I bring it back to something in the range like 20, again, it's going to work properly. Does that make sense? Right? Okay. So the thing is, in all the places that we saw a few seconds ago, what did we want to do? Guys, if you are doing anything, this part is super important. So please, I want to draw your attention here. Whatever you are doing, please pay attention here. In the previous things that we did, we had a field and the field was private. And we said why we make it private, because we didn't want it to be accessed in the main program by anyone. We just want to protect the value of field. So that is why we said that value is private. And we defined two methods. One of them was kind of getting the value, if you see here, get day. And the other one was setting the value. We called it set day. So imagine we want to do that for months as well. Do you think that we need to? Yes, yeah. We want to do, again, set month, get month. That is ridiculous. Do you want to do set grade, get grade? Funny. So you're doing one thing all the time. You want to set a value and check your stuff, and you want to get the value. Is it correct, guys, everybody? That is exactly the day that somebody woke up and said, you know what, instead of writing the method that way, let's include it as a part of the field, and let's call it properties. So I'm gonna attach it to field and call it properties. Means if the case happens that I need to check For instance, for the name, the number of characters should be at least 2 characters. For the last name, at least should be 2 characters, right? And so on and so forth. These kind of things. If you want to impose a logic, please pay attention to this word. If you want to impose a logic, if you want to set a regulations, this is the place. So they started creating something for us. And that is this part. Guys, do you remember in approach A, I intentionally, well, let me just bring you something. Please stay relaxed and don't do anything except just being with me for a few seconds. Look at this one in approach A. I intentionally bring this code side by side with the code that you have. This is before property era. So we said, let's define int day. Here you see, we exactly do the same thing. We say int day. One question, Reza, you started writing underscore day. That's the best practice in programming. If you want to define a field, the best is to start it with underscore, and the rest should be camel case, right? By saying that means I'm just of months, something like this. So O should be capital, M should be capital, but the first letter should be small. Look at this one. We said day, we said get day, we said set day, but look at here. We say public int day, get set, as simple as that. In get, we are gonna exactly say return day. In set, we are gonna say put that value inside underscore day. And there's one thing. In that handwritten simulation of properties, you could say Reza here. I intentionally have chosen value because this is a keyword in properties, setter getters. So, you know, I didn't define two separate things. I defined public int day and properties should start with capital. It includes the get method and it includes the set methods that we had separately. It just compressed both parts together. Does that make sense? I intentionally keep this code. Let me just copy the program part for you so you have it in your Telegram. And I intentionally keep that. I want you to complete the code. Complete the code. And then spend 2 minutes at least running the code, see what is happening, and discuss what you learned to your neighbors. Okay, please. Oh, no. Saram is going to explain it to you as well. Okay. Yeah.
This time we did not classify, right? Cat said it automatically, it's like when we assign it automatically, assign it. When we ask it automatically.
Yep. We are gonna explain. Okay. Guys, can I have your attention? Remember, okay. Look at this one. This was approach A. In approach B, we just added this check saying if the value is greater than 31, make it 31. If it is less than 1, make it 1 else. So we want to apply, actually, should we change anything in get part or in set part? Definitely in the set part, because we want to set the value. And look at this part here. This is, I mentioned it, and you're gonna have all these files by tonight. You mentioned this, I mentioned similar to approach B. So let me just copy the whole code. I'm sorry, the whole. The approach B. I'm going to copy the whole code, and intentionally, I want to show you hand in hand the old code that we wrote, and I want you to find the similarities yourself. Again, I'm gonna copy this is not something different very much, if it is not exactly almost the same. And I bring you to approach B, which is here. Look the similarities. Here is exactly the set part. I pause it there, and I bring you to set day that we wrote almost 30 minutes ago. So look at this part. We check exactly the same thing. We say if the value is greater than 31, put 31 inside day. If it is less than 1, just assign 1, else just put the value. You see that they're exactly similar. So little by little, we see what is the benefit of using properties. We don't need to worry about any name or something. These are the routines that we always have. Okay, please just make the code complete, run it, and show me the signal. Done. Awesome. Great. Done. Great. Awesome. So let's go to a little bit further. Look at this one. Now, approach C. Do you remember in approach C, what did we do? We said that if it is outside the range, throw an exception. You remember that? So we exactly do the same thing. And we are gonna say, hey, if it is outside the range, guys, I don't show the actual solution. I want you, it's not that different. Just you yourself change these two if into one. You have the solution, similar solution. So just change it. Okay, done. Bravo. You see, it's not that different. Lovely. So let's just see the solution that we have for this part. I mentioned almost similar. There we go. This is what we needed to do, to say if the value is greater than 31 and if the value is less than 1, just throw exception. Huh? So for those who left behind for any reason, for the set part, I just copy that part for you if you want to check it. Okay. Okay. So look at the next part. And I added some frills into it. Looking at that, imagine that we want to have task as well. Like what? We want to say, I have a dental appointment on 20th of the month, something like this. So that's the task. So very simple, very simple. And guys, imagine that for the task part, we don't have any specific regulations, right? If you don't have anything, any specific regulations now, there is no 100% guarantee that you are not gonna have any restrictions tomorrow. Because people might ask, Reza, when there is no restrictions, when I have no boundaries, like it should be less than 31 and greater than 1, greater than or equal 1, why should I bother? Why should I use properties? I should just simply use fields. Am I right? Did you get the question? You used all those hustle and bustle, Reza, for one reason, that you can have formula for it, like if it is in a boundary or not. There are two answers for that question. And the first one is, guys, you are not sure about tomorrow. Maybe you just say, hey, for email address, I need to use @ and .com and something like that. Today, I don't have any regulations, but tomorrow the boss is going to come and tell, change it. Have regular expression for it. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have regulations today, but there's no guarantee for tomorrow. They're gonna make the program better and better. properties is for that. The other thing is it is not safe to leave your field public so everybody can, without any authentication or authorization, they can access the fields. It's not secure at all. So for those two concerns, we always use properties. Question for you. Do you think that properties are going to occupy memory for you? Yes or no? Who says yes? Who says no? Good. Let me tell you the answer. Guys, still the one who is responsible to occupy memory is field. Properties are going to pave the way for you to bring the value inside the fields. If it is okay to have that value inside that field, or if you get the value from that. So field still is there. I repeat it, field is still there. Okay? So by saying that, you already have done this part, right? I want you to define very simple thing, guys. Public string task, get return task, set, put value inside underscore task. Done? Awesome. And now let's get to this part. I'm gonna copy the program for you. So you have already created private string underscore task and then public string task. Okay. So you have that. Make sure that your task is going to work. Yeah. Yes. Okay. How about this? Send hi to Telegram to me. Okay. The next thing is, did you send? Okay. How about this? You see that that's a simple task. Just send hi here. Okay, check the code. Look at this one, guys. What if I want to have a shorthand? I don't want even to bother writing set return value, get return value, set value, put it inside the field kind of thing. For doing that, I said here actually the real fact. I'm lazy and I want to add this is the program. You're going to have it just I would be thankful if you just put your phone on silent. I know that I send lots of things, so please just make sure that your phone is on silent. Thank you. Okay. But look at this one. I have forgotten something, right? Name, right? Name. Because I used name here. Yeah, I have forgotten to. But look at this one, guys. Didn't I tell you the fact? So that's why we have a shorthand here, which is going to be public string name get set. Just get semicolon, set semicolon means what? Means don't worry. I'm gonna take care of the field. Just type that. I'm gonna make it for you. And we don't need even to show it. Does that make sense? Lazy Reza. Even I talked to Bill Gates. I said I'm even tired to type those kind of things. Look at the solution. Guys, imagine that you want to do what? Where is the day? It is going to finish here. I just want to define name, right? Done. Prop, tab, tab. Type prop, tab, tab. And then you're going to have string and then say name. Isn't it beautiful? Yes. What if I want to have full format of, for instance, something like day? Look at this one. You say, let's just call it grade. Let's have something like integer grade. Is it clear? So I say prop full tab tab. Look at what we are going to have. So it says that private int, let's say grade. And then look, by pressing tab, it changed everything. And here I say grade capital. Done. Super lazy, Reza. Just try this. And I'm gonna give the code to you. So just run it. Make sure that it works 100% fine. And go through the code with your friends. Study the code, explain line by line, and we are gonna go to the next example, please. Don? Don? Okay, guys, can I have your attention? I told you intentionally, most of the time, I choose my words carefully. Because we are responsible for what we say. And one of the cases is when I told you we haven't decided to have any regulations yet. You remember that? Okay. So imagine that if the life was peachy and we said, for instance, dental appointment for task and use name, man, Manav, Kanjan for the name part, everything is fine. But what if the user, guys, life is not going to be like that command prompt all the time. You're going to pretty soon, and that's part of your course outline in this semester, that you're going to use GUI, graphic user interface. And in that case, you get the values from the form, and maybe the user has forgotten to enter name or task or something, if it's not compulsory. So do you think that it is appropriate to show the results like this? Look, it says that I don't know who has I don't know what an appointment on 10th of the month. That's ridiculous. It could be a better version for it, right? What could be a better version for it? When you don't know the name, say unknown or say someone. And if you don't know the task, say something or unknown. So someone has something on 10th of, something to do on 10th of. Does that make sense? So in that case, we need to go back to our code and now impose the regulations, restrictions. And guess what? I'm going to show you just the first part of it. Look at here in the add more checking. Definitely you need now to have full form of, that's why you see that I brought back underscore name. So now that's your next bonus points. Make it work, add regulations, and what you need to do, both cases, null and empty. I don't know how, but check both. If it is null or empty, it should just replace it with unknown, please. Good. The first bonus mark is. That was not easy, Walang. Done. That is another solution. But there is. All right, there is a solution. And it's based on a method, string method. You want to check if a string is null or not. Well, but the other thing is that's one solution. The other solution is searching for a method, a string method, if it is not, and trying to find out. So, yes. That's good, man. I'm sorry, no. But again, there is another solution, search, and if you can find. And then also, there is another solution, and problem, and I have you, I think, you say that. So that's one. We have another solution as well, so try to find that. Then I just. So you just check the null out about empty.
So you write R string.
Use that. Okay. Let's see the code. Okay. Um. That's one solution, but we need to check those empty and null. So they're different, there's a slight different from those two, so please check that too. That's true, yeah, yeah. No worries. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Done. Sorry. Okay, just be with me. I'm gonna talk about the solution. Can I have your attention, please? Okay, Jordan. Look at this one. I define a private string underscore name. And look at this one. Here, I set for the set part, if string dot is null or empty value, means the value that you want to pass is either empty or null. Then, guys, some of you, instead of that, said if the value is equal to, that is fine. That is, the good thing is here we can see, aha, for some of the tasks that we might come across, somebody has faced that issue and provided a tool for us. So not a bad idea to know what we could have, what we could search in our toolbox. Does that make sense? Okay, so in that case, if it is null or empty, say unknown task, and do the same thing for the set part of the name and say unknown name. Does that make sense? And now let's just run the code. Let's Control C. I'm gonna bring it here, Control V. And if I run the code here, look, it says that Reza has a health checkup. That's good. But what if I get back here and I just say, for instance, null? And for here, if I say nothing, so then it's going to tell unknown name has, well, it should be an unknown task on 10th of the month. Does that make sense? Huh? Okay. Let me show you one thing. Yeah. In the next part, I said, okay, how about checking those two? And then here you see, guys, this is a complete version of the thing. Everything is mentioned here, and we have a full package. Before we go to have a 10-minute break, I want to tell you a few things, and I want to be, yes, I would be very grateful if everybody please be with me. First thing first, that happened in the previous week. I want to start from day one that we started this class together. Guys, I know who I am and I know what I'm doing. So I'm very much confident and I record what I'm saying. So I am double careful about every single word that I use. I remember in the first day, there was one person looked at me like this. Like, what the heck are you talking about? It was the first and last day that that person was in this class. Wise decision. I can stand and clap for him for a half an hour. Good decision. I'm tough, I know. But the good thing is, when we finish this semester, people are not gonna leave this unless that they become programmer, a developer. I know that. If you think that you go to Good Life gym and you see other people are dumbbelling and you're going to get muscle, think twice. This is just a practice. I told my friends in the previous semester, long ago, I had a guitar instructor, and he told me that, Reza, it's not about just playing once and you say that, yes, I did it. It's just the difference between 500 times practicing or 1,000 times. And your ears can understand the difference between the time that you practice just. And I can easily understand. And guys, if you think that it is fun for me and I don't have anything else or any movie to watch, it takes hours and hours for me to update all these, to calculate every single of these kind of bonus marks. And can you imagine? I'm not joking. I received a big complaint that why Reza gives bonus. I can show you why Reza gives bonus. Can you imagine? But I keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm very insist, because if I don't enjoy what I'm doing, I'm gonna go do something different. That's the first thing that I want to mention. And one thing I want to clarify, and I promise not to reverse calculation to guess my age. The first day that I wrote my first programming language was 36 years ago. The first day that I wrote and it was GW Basic, I totally remember. And I remember the fear that I had. We worked with Commodore 64. If you search, you can see which era. It was like 80, forget it. That was the kind of only computer that we could, gaming computer that we had back then. And if still somebody asks me that, what is your expertise? Humbly and correctly, I say that still I'm a student. Honestly, I'm a student. And I learn from you guys, from your questions. And I'm open. As Steve Jobs said, I borrowed that from him. Said that stay full, stay hungry. And if that is the formula, we can always get successful results. I heard that in one of the sessions, one friend came to me and said that, Reza, I worked my entire life. What do you mean by entire life? In programming, and I think that this is a better approach. Hey, come on. Hold on a second. I never say such a thing. And guys, I work in the biggest private bank in the Middle East. But I'm completely ignorant in many fields of computer because it's an ocean. And if somebody says that, if somebody starts the dialogue like that, just know that that person knows nothing, 100% guarantee. I'm gonna write that for you. If a person comes to you and said that, you know what, you are not gonna use it in your future. Curse words are invented for these times. Say, go to heaven. Thank you very much. I don't need any advice. Guys, people who have written these course outlines, they are my masters, they are my gurus. I very much respect them. At least, and I'm telling you, you already have chosen Centennial. I'm not selling that to you. I'm just telling that to you. That people who provided this course outline for us, they are master, they are PhD levels, and they have worked in this business for 30 some years. And I learned from them. I very much learned from each of them, especially Ilya. He's like a father for all of us. And I remember the time that one student needed help and he just went because that person, there was a kind of war in the region. If he couldn't pass one course, he should return to the country and frontier. And we didn't know what could happen to that. I remember Ilya followed up the case to make sure that person is going to be safe and stay here. Can you imagine? So we are in this system, we are in this kind of school. So that is why I feel responsible to tell you guys, whatever we have in this course outline, we have to follow it because people thought about it. It's not just, okay, wake up one day, let's put properties, let's put fields. You're not going to use it. Yes, you are going to use it. If somebody hasn't used that, it doesn't mean that you're not going to use it. So please pay attention to everything that we work together, and you're going to get the successful result. I am here for that goal. I always tell my friend, and that's the last sentence that I tell you, guys, I told you, I'm not a prof, I'm not an instructor. Who am I? Lovely. And I want to coach you to your success. So now it is 58. Let's have 10 minutes break. In 10:09, we are going to continue. Thank you. Just a second. I'm going to just be with you. Let me pause the video. Thank you. Okay, guys, as I promised, let's start again. The thing is, that's one of the friends, Festus question that Reza, why we use underscore before fields names. You remember one of the problems that we had was when we received arguments from methods and we wanted to pass them to your fields. We said this dot name is equal to name. One of the ways that you can simply look at the code and say, this one is field, is knowing that it starts with underscore. I repeat it. It's easy just to look back and say, you know what? This is field because we have underscore before the beginning. And normally, except the underscore part, the rest would be camel case, means the first word should be small letter, start with small letter, and the rest should start with capital letters. Is it clear? But for the variables in general, variables means the things that you have inside the method or the thing that you pass as parameters, the arguments, they should be camel case, means that we start with the small letter, no underscore, and so on. How about the method names? We use Pascal case. How about the property names? We use Pascal case. So for properties and for methods, we use Pascal case. And you may say that, Rosa, you know what? I might forget. I provided one file for you, and the name is naming convention. I have borrowed this part from the Microsoft, well, a guru in this field, and I asked our mutual friend that, okay, briefly provide a document for me, how to use naming, and our friend just answered like this. You know who's our friend? Okay, yeah. So it says that for fields, we use camel cases, and this is the example. For properties, Pascal case, and so on and so forth, right? And look at the field, where is it? And prefix provided fields with an underscore. That is something that it is mentioned. Okay. Apart from that, did I answer your question, Festus?
So I wanted to ask, how about if it's public field? I'm aware that public field, right?
We don't use public for fields. That's the first thing, right? So we go through the properties not to use fields as public member of the system. And that is one thing we already know about fields, and fields are where? Are the locations in the memory. But properties are gonna deviate us to find those memory locations, means fields, but they are not occupying memories. They put regulations. It's like a custom in any country that when you want to pass, they're gonna ask, okay, your passport, do you have anything to declare, and so on. That's the role of property, to check who is getting in or who is getting out. It's like custom. Does that make sense? Okay. Apart from that, you might say, Reza, I just started knowing what is happening in this. Do you have any further things for me? So you see, I provided class properties. That is the second file B. And I started with showing, and please read them at your convenience. I started talking about this one. That's Mr. Morgan. He is amazingly amazing in describing. It's a short article. And intentionally, I wanted to bring this into our class. Guys, we are all, including myself, generation of YouTube, right? So not a bad idea to read articles, especially when it is short and concise. So it says that, for instance, we have a class car and we have two public string make, which is not the greatest. And we said, okay, create a new car, access those fields, but a better alternative is defining, look at this one, defining public string make, capital M. Whenever I see it is capital and there is no parentheses, the first guess is it is properties, yes. Awesome. Okay. How about this one? When there is no parentheses, properties, yes. And when we see getter, setter, 100% properties. So then you're gonna say Carl.make, capital M, is equal to Toyota, and so on and so forth. Okay. The other thing is I mentioned our beloved W3 schools. It started saying what are properties, how we are gonna use them, and simply we can just copy and paste the examples that we have here. In some of the cases like there, you can just go and try it. So look at this one. Here we have class program, right? We said that let's create something. Look, this is the prog2 CS that we define private string name. And then for name, we just say getter, setter, as simple as that, correct? So getting to this one, we say create a new object based on person's class. And then we say my object dot name capital N means that I'm connecting to the property and not to the field. And then we simply just, guys, in this part, the setter part is getting triggered, or the getter part. Excellent, setter, because you want to set something. You want to open a drawer and put Liam's name in that drawer. And then in the next line, which part of that, the getter part, you want just to get the value from the drawer. Does that make sense? Okay, by saying that, now it's time to listen to this gentleman. He is just awesome. It is very normal that for any reason, guys, this is something that's not very much advanced approach. For instance, you ask many people, why you like math? Because I had a good prof in math. Why you dislike, I don't want to use negative word. Why you dislike chemistry? Because the prof was not that much great. Guys, make sure that what are your interests, and don't let people to be in your way. Means what? Okay, I couldn't get anything from X class. Here it is. Let's just learn it. Just please listen to this. Let's listen to this together.
Getters and setters. But before I explain what these are, let me explain the situation. We have a class car, and we have one field within our car class, speed. So when we construct a car object, we need to pass it something with speed. Maybe this is miles per hour, meters per hour, doesn't really matter. So let's say that somebody takes our car object and changes the speed to like, whatever this number is, 100 million. Actually, let's make that a billion. How can we prevent people from doing this? Because currently our car is going way too fast. So one way in which we could do that is to change this field from public to private, but then we can't access it at all. Another way is to set up getters and setters. And this adds security to our program via this concept called encapsulation. So we need to first set up a property for this field. The property name is the same as the field name, except it's capital. So type public, if you're returning something, list the data type, then speed, and then let's make this capital. Then add a set of curly braces. A property combines the aspects of both fields and methods, and it shares the same name. So it's kind of like something in between a field and a method, and it contains accessors, a get and set accessor. Now, to first assign a value, we'll need to change our constructor. Instead of assigning the field speed, we will assign the property speed. So this has a capital S. Let's create a get accessor first. When we would like to get the value of speed, whatever's contained within speed, we will use this get accessor. So type get curly braces, and we will return speed. And then we'll need to assign this with the set accessor. Then make sure you have that semicolon at the end. So by using this get accessor, this will read whatever values within our field. Then we'll need a set accessor if we would like this to be writable. Set curly braces. So what we'll do here is set speed equal to value. So value is kind of like a parameter. Properties combine the aspects of both fields and methods. So when we assign a value to speed, well then this value is going to be this. So it's kind of like an argumentative parameter. And within our set accessor, we can actually set up like some code or some rules or something. So if somebody attempts to change the speed with writing a statement, like if value is greater than, let's say 500, then we will limit this. Let's change speed equal to 500 then. Else, speed equals value. Now, car.speed is inaccessible due to its protection level, so we need to access instead the field, the property, so that's speed with a capital S. And then if we're going to display the value of speed, we'll access the property instead of the field. So if we attempt to set our speed equal to 1 billion, well, we will access this set accessor, and then it's going to be limited to 500 then. So if we attempt to change our speed to 1 billion, it will be limited to 500. And then we can still display the value and access it because by having a getter and setter, this is both readable and writable. So yeah, those are getters and setters. They are accessors found within a property. A property combines the aspect of both fields and methods. And if you have a private field,
Okay, by saying that, what I actually do is, this is the code that I give you, the program part. This is the program part that you already have it. There we go. So please copy that part to your code. And for the next part, for the class car, I just leave it here for you. Please type class car. Okay, Don? Excellent. So by saying that, what if there are cases that you don't want to? What if there are cases that you don't want to impose any regulations? That's the case. And look at the other video.
Data camp, you don't need to download Python to learn Python. You can learn right in your browser with
All right, everybody, we have to talk about auto implemented properties. This is an intimidating name, but don't worry, it's actually fairly simple. They are shortcuts when no additional logic is required within a property. You do not
Okay,
have to define.
Guys,
field.
this is several times, please, just when we start, be with the class. I have to bring it back because I want you to be in the class.
All right, everybody, we have to talk about auto implemented properties. This is an intimidating name, but don't worry, it's actually fairly simple. They are shortcuts when no additional logic is required within a property. You do not have to define a field for a property, and you only have to write get and or set inside the property. Here's an example. I have a class car, and what if we would like a
If in any question you received something that auto implement properties, it is this one.
field and property? So that might look something like this. Make sure to not make your field public for this example. So this will be a string name model or a model card. And I would like to set up a property that has get and set accessors. So that would be public string model with capital M, curly braces, and then I need a get and set accessor. All we'll do with the get accessor is return model, and that's the field. And set will be model, our field, equals value. And within my constructor, I will set this dot model property, make sure that you have capital M, equals model, whatever our parameter is. So if you're not doing anything else within your getter and setter, there's actually a shortcut to all of this, and that's by using an auto implement property. So this is what we'll do. We're going to instead get rid of all this and type public string model with a capital M, curly braces, get semicolon, set semicolon. And this will do the same thing. However, it's a lot less to write. So if there's no additional logic that you need besides, setting the value and getting the current field, well, you can just use an auto implement property. And this will do the same thing. Let's test it. So let's create a car object. Car equals to car, then pass in a model car, let's say a Porsche this time. And then I would like to display the car's model, car dot model property, capital M. So there will still be a model field, but it's hidden. And this car's model is a Porsche. So that's like a shortcut you can do. And an auto implemented property is a shortcut when no additional logic is required.
Is not required yet, but maybe in future you want to change it. Okay, guys, can you jog my memory? What was the short what was the thing that we typed and pressed tap? Oh, awesome, lovely. So please, everybody, you have the code in front of you. I just give you the program part using the trick that you already taught me, typing prop tab tab. This is the main part. You have it in your Telegram. And for the rest, here is the code. It takes just 30 seconds. Whenever you are done, give me a signal, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Just type prop tab tab, change the int into string, and change the name into model. Right? There is also, let me just show you one thing. What if I say private string? I don't know. Like it says description. Let's say model. Whatever. Look at this one. If I just press control dot, as simple as that, it is going to provide some stuff for us. One of them is encapsulation, this model or this model. And if I click on that, it provides automatically a properties. This is a kind of very recent version of it. It's exactly, we use lambda function. This is lambda, just let's get started knowing it. And this is for the getting part, and for the setting part, look at this one. We say set, put the value inside model. This is lambda sign, okay? It's exactly like what we did before, but just shorthanded, put all the block in just one line. Okay, and that's what we call it refactoring. Also, the other way is you can right click on it, and you see on top it says that quick way to refactoring. If you use older versions, it is just refactoring. Intentionally, I want to spend more time on that and ask you, please, you see, later you're going to have these videos, but I'm going to watch with you these two. The 11-minute is the one that you are going to watch it at your convenience. So let's just watch this one together.
One suddenly gets so good at writing. Word two. It's
Hello, this is Michael Osborne with Webicator. In this video, we're going to take a look at the difference between fields and properties in C#. Now, this video is based on a blog post by Jeremy Morgan, and Jeremy agreed to let us create this video showing his solution, which is available as an article on his
Isn't the name familiar? The website that we...
blog at the URL that you can see here. So let's begin by defining what a field and what a property is according to MSDN. According to MSDN, a field is a private member of a class that contains values specific to that object. Now, fields pretty much almost always need to be private members of the class because we don't want to expose any sort of internal implementation. They might be constants, for example, but they're used for data hiding. A property, on the other hand, is a mechanism, a flexible mechanism for reading, writing, or computing the data of a private field. In other words, properties can be thought of as essentially wrappers around private fields that allow us to control how you access that information and how you update that information. Let's look at an example. I have here a very simple class library project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to my class library a new item. And what we're going to add is a class. We're going to call this class schedule. Say OK, or add rather. Now, schedule has within it a private field. This field is of type integer, and it's called _month. Now, again, this is private. This is not accessible from outside that class. So if I were to create an instance of schedule, I could not access _month. I want to allow you to access month, but I don't want you to do it directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this in a property. Now, there's a simple way to do this. If you actually highlight the month and right-click on it and go to the refactor menu, you can specify that you want to encapsulate your field. And this will automatically generate my property.
We don't have this in the recent version. It is changed to things that you saw it.
For me. Notice I've got both a get and a set accessor. So if you look at the code that was generated here, what we're saying is if you read that property, in other words, if you access it like a variable, I will get or return whatever the value is in the _month private field. On the other hand, if you set or pass in a value, if I assign a value to month, what I will do is take the value that you passed in and assign it to _month. Now, initially, when you look at this, you think that's an awful lot of overhead for really no big return. But let's look at something cool that we can do. Suppose this integer value represents month, and it should contain a value between 1 and 12. Anything else would be out of range. So I want to ensure that when you access this field, or when you access this, property, that you only pass in the appropriate value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a little if statement here. We're going to say if the value is less than 0 or value is greater than 12, then what we will do is we will throw a new argument out of range exception.
What is the logical problem in here? Yeah, so it accepts 0 while 0 is not in the range of months.
Otherwise, what we'll do is we will pass the value into the _month field. So you see what I've gained the ability to do here now is to control your access to this private field. The fields are always pretty much private. The property is public and allows me to wrap that field and add some additional code to control the access to that field. Now, starting with C# version 3, there's a new feature that showed up. And this allows us to build what are known as automatic properties or auto properties. Suppose, for example, I have a field and I want to expose as a property. I don't really have any logic to apply to it at the moment.
I don't have any logic to apply to it at the moment.
But I might in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I will put in a public integer day, and notice in the brackets there, I just have get and set. So what I've said is this is a property. It's an automatic property. It's called day, and it essentially is the field and the property all in one. Now, in the future, if I decide that I want to come back and put in some sort of code to control the set or the get or whatever, then I can do that. It's already declared as a property, and so it's pretty much ready to go. So to recap, fields should pretty much always be private members of classes. They're intended to hide information, so they're internal implementations, so we don't want those visible outside of the class. Properties could be thought of as wrapping a field, and this allows the field to act kind of like a variable, and it allows us to have some control over what is put into and taken out of that field. All right, I'd like to again thank Jeremy Morgan for the inspiration for this video.
Okay, by saying that we are almost ready, I'm gonna just treasure this one for the next gap that we are going to have before we get to our quiz. So let me just save it somewhere. Okay, and pass the,
All right, real talk. Wasting our money should be easy.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
okay. So let's just hide this one. The next file, guys, look at this one. How much did we practice? We just went through like 30 different examples. And now we just start the standard slides that Centennial provided for us. And look at them. In the first slide, these are the tiny, teeny things that could change. I'm gonna upload later another version. So I thought it's not a bad idea to have what Microsoft says about the properties and how to use properties. So these are what I borrowed from Microsoft and added to the Node part. This is just the only difference that you see compared to your slides at the moment. And the definition and so on. Let's just read some of the important parts of it. It says that properties are members, that they are considered as extension of the field. So we can consider properties as something like extensions of the field. We can look at it as like a gateway towards the field. So it's a named member with an associated type. So the syntax for access is the same as a normal member. Unlike a field, this is super important. Unlike the field, it doesn't denote a storage location. So the storage location is field. It's the responsibility of field, but it's a gateway towards the location. So it says that the compiler creates the backing field that you don't have direct access to, and the logic to read write these fields belong to the property. So properties are the logic to access, the logic that you provide yourself. It says that declare like a field, except that there is a getter set. If you hear somewhere that they say getter setter things, it means that we are talking about properties. If somebody says that, okay, where is the getter setter, means where is the property? Just know that we have the same concept in Java. We have the same concept in almost all the programming languages. And it says that different permission can be specified for getter setter. And by saying that, it means we can have read-only, we can have private, we can have protected, we can have public, but why we are going to use them, you're going to see different scenarios. And I'm going to provide some examples to show you what would be the differences. I have some codes that I couldn't fix them. I'm going to ask you to help me fix it, and bonus mark is waiting for you. You had a question.
For getter also we can set logic, right? Like it's like
Yes.
Password.
Yeah, for instance, you don't want to show. So the getter could be, you can limit. For instance, what could be the reason for that? You are going to, that's a good question, actually. Imagine that you want to get a credit card values, right? You're going to do some checkings to make sure that if the credit card value is correct, but you don't want to show it. You just take the last 4 digits of it and show that part. So you see, in that case, the get part is not allowed. So we have write only in that case. We are going to do something and return just a portion of it. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Okay. So ref and out, I don't know about them. We are gonna learn about them in week number 10. Don't worry, but we just want to know that we can't use ref and out for properties. That's pretty much what we need to know. And guys, just imagine we have spent that amount of practices, and I don't think it is fair to start with this. To say, okay, public int age get and private set. What is this? Let's have some normal cases, then go to some exceptional cases. For doing that, I have provided some examples for both slide number 5 and 6. Here you see age get set, name get but private set. And look at this one, just to give you a kind of general idea, guys. If I don't tell anything on top of properties, because properties are enough complex, I don't need to add anything on our tray at the moment. And just to let you know, go and ask people who graduate in bachelor level. So, okay, in a very simple way, tell me, why do you have properties? See if they can explain it the way that you can explain it right now. I very much like somebody tells me, well, what happened exactly like what this approach. Okay, private set, hey, please first explain what is it, and then go to exceptional cases. And I want you guys, you're gonna be team leaders pretty soon in programming. Guys, step by step, bring the team members to your knowledge. Don't overwhelm them with the things. Let's just go to the example that we have here. That's the last file you see. It's number C. Everybody, please try this one. This is the code, Control C. Intentionally, I want you, please, all of you, just type it yourself. And we have some games to play here. Done? Okay. Very simple. You see, we have a class called human. We just say human, create one object called human1. It could be anything, any name. Equal to new, and we call constructor. What type of constructor it is? Default constructor means that we didn't pass any parameter. So this is something that compiler provides for us. And it says that, hey, we have a getter, we have a private set. What does it mean, if I may ask? Exactly, we can just change the value. We can set the value within this class, not here. So if you just, at the moment, if you run the code, it's gonna show you 0, because that's the default value that we have. And if you just say, hey, I wanna assign 10 to age, it's gonna say, sorry, it's private. And one of the solutions is just get rid of that private. So now you can just do it, but hey, you just clean the problem statement. Let's look at this one. Guys, how about, oh, it's still there. How about auto implement property for saying everybody, say first private int underscore age, and then you define public int age, and then we have get, we had private set, but we have something different here, and that is defining a constructor. We say get that value from the user, and then get that value from the user in here, from the construct, calling the constructor 10, and then just assign the value. So change it this way, please. Okay, done. So what is happening here? If I just, sorry. If I just in here, I say new human 10, right? We assign the value to, the argument of our constructor, and it's going to pass it. Guys, the key point is in here. I pass that age argument into age property, and age property now is responsible to say, okay, you know what? Let's bring that value into age field, underscore age field. Does that make sense? So now you have it there, and when you say, okay, guys, let me ask you, if you say human1.age, which part of the code is triggered here? That's first age property, and which part of the property of the age? The get part of that, right? Because we want to fetch and we want to show that part. Does that make sense? So whenever you want to assign a value, that's the set part that you, and guess what? Why we have that concept? Because now with private, it's going to work here. You don't need to know anything more. Just at the moment, just know that you need to, the maximum freedom is for public. The maximum restriction belongs to private. And protected is something in the middle. This is what we need to know at the moment. If you ask what is protected, I don't know. We don't need to know now. We have an entire session for that. So if there is just one thing which is not very much clearly mentioned in the slide, and I'm going to elaborate on that. Guys, when I say public int age, what is the accessor here? It is public. The properties accessor is what? Public. Inside that, if I don't mention it like for what we have for get, if I don't mention it, it means that it is the same as the property, which is public. Because I said public int age, I'm talking about this line. Because I said in this line, public int age, I didn't say anything for get. It means what? Get is public. Does that make sense? If I mention private, it's going to accept it. You need to know always you mention it only if you want to make more restriction. If you want to narrow down the access. Does that make sense? So we have public over there and we have private narrower. If you just mention public again, what's going to happen? Look, even if I just say, you know what, Reza, I just want to make sure it is public. Why you mention it? It is by default public, right? So you can just make it narrower. That is why, look at here. Now we are ready. If you don't mention, look at the first line. It is public int a get set. If I ask you what is the accessor for get and set, what are public? Awesome. We say protected int b. What are the accessors? You know it. Protected, and I said protected is something between those. And if I say private int c, the same thing. But here, if I say public int d get, and I say public set, you saw that it shows error. Hey Reza, if you mean public, why you say it is already the default, right? Look at the next line. We say public int protected. So we have public, protected is something a little bit more restriction. Is it acceptable? Yes, because it is more restricted. Look, it is acceptable. If I say public and private, it is even narrower, right? It is, that is why it is acceptable. For protected, if you say G, get and public set, no, it's not acceptable because you widen the. For protected, if you say again protected, what's the use of it? Not acceptable, but if you say protected, int I, you narrow it down. I'm not gonna read all of them. This is the regulations. If you get one, you can just understand the rest. Please spend time and read that at your convenience. It talks about the get, that what we fetch the data and display, and set when you want to assign what you have in the value. You don't explicitly write anything about value. Value is something attached. When you pass anything to the property, it sits in the value. That is why intentionally, if you get back to example that we started our morning with, I intentionally used value. In those examples at the beginning, which we didn't use properties, we could use anything. We could say Reza, but I wanted our brain started, just getting used to value. And let's just see what have we here. Do you remember, this is the example that we had started. We said we didn't have get and set, so getter setter properties. In order to access private int age, we defined two methods, E for properties, but after properties, now you define an object and then you say f.age. Guys, when you see f.age, tell me, age is capital or small capital? So does it have any parentheses? Then immediately we can say it's a property. But guys, do not very much be sure about that, because nobody is going to question us if we define our fields with capital letters. So first go and check. Maybe that's a kind of not a decent style of programming in the code that you're dealing with, right? So by saying that, and let's just go to this one. What is it happening here? I go to the class name is accounts, and we have balance. And in balance, we have get, public get for sure, and private set means I cannot set the value in the program directly. In the program, I'm gonna say, let's have account A, one object, new account. Is it possible to say A dot balance equal to 500? Please tell me. No, because the balance, to set the value there, it is private, lovely. So now that is why we define, it's not very much type of my code writing. When it is a block, please use a block. We say public void deposit int amount, get a value from the user 100. I want to deposit it into my balance. Guys, don't confuse yourself. You go to RBC, CIBC, TD, wherever. You say this is $100 deposited into my account. That's the scenario, right? So in that case, int amount $100. What is in your balance? $500 at the moment. You add that 100 into it. Does that make sense? Huh? Look at this one. Here, you know the story. I want you to spend time. Here is I give you the, okay. I will, exactly. Just let's do one at a time. So guys, I just want to make sure that, yes, this is what we have already covered by saying private things. And what is new in this code by any chance? I'm going to share this code with you in the Telegram. Guys, I'm going to share all the codes and work on all of them. So please, one at a time, first work on this, explain this to your friend. Wants to have more control. You're going to see, we don't get rid of the second. We don't want outside somebody does anything. We want, most of the time, you are absolutely right that you can have control inside the set. But what if you want to have regulations apart from the set, or you want to have something do, for example, you get a salary, you want to get on the tax, and then set it there after doing some process. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Can I have your attention, please? Guys, these are the things that we have gone through. I want to explain quickly, one at a time. Previously, we saw that if we have age, which is public getter, private setter, it means that the age is just accessible for the set part inside the class and not outside it. So it's not possible that you say, look at here, if I say human one dot, yeah, if I say age equal to 100, for example, it's not going to accept it, right? Because it is privately set for the. So in that case, I can define what? I can define a constructor and pass a parameter into it, pass an argument, and that is going to access within the class. Does that make sense? The other thing that we already saw, and that was the code that you received, is this way. So Reza, what if I want to use in a main a mechanism that I can bring the value into a private set? Look at this one. I say public void setting age, and then int age. And this variable, this argument that I pass, you can just say age is equal to age, and it is going to accept it, right? Because it is within what? It is within the method, right? In class. So look at this one. Here I define something, what is it? Default constructor. And after that, I use a method to pass an argument inside the age property. That is why it is going to get that 10, and it is going to show you the age is 10. Does that make sense? But the next part, let's just add more stuff into it. So this is something that we already talked about. I don't want to overwhelm you with this again. It says that before the, it's slide number 9, before the era of having properties, we needed to have separate get and separate set methods to access a private value for there. But this is something that I asked you to work on, and now I'm going to give you the whole code. You don't need to type them. You have it now. Just now, first run the code and see if it works. Right? If it works. And let's add another line into here. And say deposit 100 again. So just add that one. And then use the balance. So what do you expect to have there? Man, 100 plus 500 is gonna make it 600. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, you have something that you can tease him. Okay, done, Jordan. So look at this one. We have a balance, and the problem is it is private, so you cannot set any value directly over there, That's one thing. And the next step would be, let's just say unchanging object state. Okay, so what if, let's just have another example. Let's just create a class called person, and we have a new situation. Look at this. Here we just have get, and we don't have any set. So if somebody asks you that, and that could be a kind of tough question, an interview question. What is the difference between a time that you have private set and when you don't have any set? Just think about it. When you don't have any private set or you don't have any set at all. So just, man,
If we don't have set, then we can only edit the value in the constructor. And if we have set, then if it's private set, then we can only edit the value in the class. In the.
I didn't get what man said, so that's why if I give you bonus mark, that's because I didn't get what you said. So spend time in your group. You have the code here, Control C. And let me just bring it to you. Okay. Look at here. We have age, we have name, and is it possible that I create something like, what do we call it? Public, tell me, void setting age, for example, and I get int age, right? And then inside there, I say, what is this thingy? Sorry. Yeah, I say age is equal to age like that. Is it possible? What's wrong with it? If I just have here set like that, you see that there is no problemo, right? Even if I mention private here, there is no problem at all. So whenever you want to make it very much restricted, that you only can change the values when you create an object using the constructor, you just get rid of that. So if you do not have set part, means that you can just change the value for that field property in the time of creation. Does that make sense? Okay, just whatever you learned from this, play around with, talk to your neighbors, just change those values like private, get rid of it, see the error. It's getting clearer. Okay, can I have your attention, ladies and gentlemen? Let's, now we understood we could have get, we could have private set. That's normally the case. If you don't, what if I just don't have any get? Means that you don't want to show anything, right, to the user. Let's see what are the other things. So guys, why the following code doesn't work. Actually, that was my problem. And I want you please help me and get, please do not say it aloud. Please just, whenever you can find, because we want more people to have a chance to get bonus mark. You have the code. And please fix it for me and raise your hand. I'm gonna just check on your computer. Thank you very much. I'll just fix it. Awesome. Fix it. You got it. Good job, yes. Good job. Again, you can just even make it silent, right? But good job. Lovely. Good job. You can just use silent as well. That was great. Yes, sir. Lovely. Yeah. You can just use silent. Okay, why we have error? Issues, you have a button, setting button. So why not we have? Maybe one talk about that, but it's. Okay, but why we have the squiggly line over there? No worries. And John, good job, ladies, 2 minutes. Okay, Don. Can you finish that? Just, not John. Column, Don, okay? Okay. You already have it. Yeah. Awesome. China. Anyone else? Don, Andy, bravo. Don't be modest, Andy. Say. Okay. Don. Okay. Okay, can I have your attention, please? Yes, you helped me fix that. You said I need to either say set, and even if I want to restrict it here, I can just simply say private set. And guys, if I say protected, is it going to work the same way? Apparently it works, so we don't need to know that yet. So let's go to the next part. And well, yes, thanks to your help, now it works. And private setter for the, well, one of the things that it worked for the name, we said private set. And even this one works by saying get private set and change name. What is the difference between these two? I'm sorry, just give me a second. We just said me.name, dot and get public Anyone can see the,
Attempting to set value for age in the method.
oh, so in this one, well, I didn't want to do anything. I think that there are, let me just check one thing for a sec. Give me a second. That's what I sometimes confuse myself. Because I want to upload the code for all of you, I want to make sure I'm not gonna make any mistake. Let's just one line at a time compare, get private set, age, string name, age, name, and here we say void string name. And here in this part, I don't see any difference. Guys, do you see any difference? So I think that even this one works. Reza, okay, there's one thing. Because in the previous one, yeah, no, nothing changed. So let's just get rid of that one. That's why Control S. And by saying that, actually, we technically finish the content that we want to have for today's quiz. Before getting to the quiz, I want to watch the last video together. So let's just have that one. And then 5 minutes just water break. And then we are going to have a quiz.
Monday.com is your visual project with a single glance. With a fully customizable interface, you can create the exact workflow that you need for you and your team to get stuff done. Monday.com is available on mobile for free, link in the description. So the previous video, we talked about public fields, and I mentioned how it wasn't exactly the best practice to do something like that. Rather, you should use fields when you need to store some information behind the scenes, or use it as a backing variable for some public interface, such as a property. And you'll understand all of that in more detail when we talk about encapsulation. But essentially, a property can be used as a gatekeeper to our fields. So enough rambling, we're just going to create very simple properties to store the person's first name and the person's last name. So we're not going to need this public field anymore. If we do want to create fields in the future and they're not public, you'll usually have a naming convention of a lowercase first word. So we're going to use camel casing. So for example, if we were storing first name, it'd be like this. And sometimes you will even see them prefixed with an underscore, which I think is the convention most people are adopting these days. So often your fields will look a little bit more like this than what we had earlier. But if you need them to be public, by convention, they will be Pascal case in public. But anywho, I'm rambling. Let's go back to properties, and we'll just get rid of this field because we're not going to need this. So to create a property in Visual Studio anyways, it's really super easy. We're going to say prop, and I think hit tab twice. Boom. It's going to put out a shell that we can fill in the information. So the first thing here is the type. We can just give it a type of string. Then we hit tab again twice just to get out of that IntelliSense the first time. And then we're going to give it a name. So we could say first name. And the first letter of each word is going to be capitalized. And you can see we have this get set. So this is known as an auto implemented property. We don't have to do anything too crazy. Basically, this is going to create a private field behind the scenes. So we don't have to worry about it, but generally properties are going to be working with fields, and they're kind of acting as the gatekeeper to those fields. In an auto-implemented property, there's not any real strict gatekeeping, and the field is made automatically for us. So this is the easiest way to create properties. We'll do another one, string, last name, and there we go. All right, so we created these properties. They'll allow us to store information similar to how the fields did, and we can access these from our program. So rather than saying me dot name, we can say me dot first name and assign that Caleb or whatever your first name is. You don't have to type Caleb if you're not Caleb. Then we say me dot last name, assign that Curry or insert your favorite spice. And then down here in the console right line, we say me dot first name plus, then we'll put a space, me dot last name. All right, so that's some concatenation for you. It should print Caleb Curry. We'll let it run. And there you go, you get Caleb Curry. So that is a more proper way of doing what we did in the previous video. The previous video, we did get the same output, but the code behind the scenes wasn't as clear and wasn't quite on the mark on the best way to do this. So this is a little bit better. So that's your introduction to auto-implemented properties. You can look up properties if you want to get a lot of juicy details because they're fully customizable. And I'm sure we'll probably get into some of that in this series.
Okay, we have another 11-minute video that you can find as the last video I suggested in file B. But apart from that, this is the last portion before we get to the break. This is just saying goodbye to people who just watch it later. And let's go to have a break